Hi, I'm Senior Grandmaster Hemenes from Kajukenbo Live, coming out of South Lake Tahoe, California. Today's show is chapter 1 of my book, My Story, Like It or Not. Now, it's a tell-all book. I'll give you a little bit on the introduction on it. It's a tell-all book. It's just not about martial arts. It's not about kicking and the punching and all that good stuff and kind of boring. It's what my life went through from small all the way through the martial arts, the Las Vegas days, you name it, it's going to be in here. It's going to be a murder. It's going to be more or less like a rock star life. A lot of stuff like that. Plus, I'll be talking about the different martial art studios that I went to and the story that I had with them. Now, after this book is done, some of you might like me and a lot of you might hate me. But I think you'd rather have me tell the book in a truthful way than to leave things out and or make things up that didn't happen. And one of the reasons I'm doing it live like this is we can see each other one-on-one and you know who you're talking to. You're not talking to a ghostwriter or nothing that they're adding in. It's coming from my mouth. So, just get started. Myself, my real name is Anthony Hemenes III. My grandfather's the first, my dad's the junior. My mom's Carolyn Hemenes. I was born 1/30/59 in Castro Valley. And I grew up in San Leandro all my life, and that's where I had my studio. And really never left there until I got a little bit older. And it was a good life. I can't say we were not well off. We were okay, and we pretty much got what we wanted to an extent. But we were old school. My dad was old school, and my mother was old school. Like, for example, we didn't go out and have pizza. We didn't have Chinese food brought in. My mom cooked dinner at 5 o'clock, just like my grandma did for my grandpa. I think we went out to dinner once a year, and that was for Easter. And the people that's watching this from San Leandro, they know. We went to Piper's. That's a lot of people in San Leandro went. That was our big 1 year out eating, was at Piper's. And then, but after that, I kind of made up for it when I got a little bit older because my dad wouldn't take us anywhere. I got a half sister, Suzette. I got a sister, Tracy, and I got a brother, John. And later on, we'll get into the book about them. And I don't want to get into that part right now. Like in sports, for example, I played baseball since I was a little kid, all the way up through high school. Did I like it? No, not really. I did it because of my dad. But my main focus was the martial arts. It always was, and it still is to this day. I didn't mind too much like the little leagues and stuff like that, and Babe Ruth and all that. I didn't really mind that too much. I just couldn't stand playing for San Leandro High School. It just wasn't the same, and my heart wasn't there, and it was more in the martial arts and stuff. Now, how I got into martial arts, like most of people, you watch the Bruce Lee movies, and I think I told the story before. I watched Five Fingers of Death. My dad took me when I was a little kid, and it's a Chinese movie that it was a subtitle, and it was at the Ritz Theater in Hayward. Later on, the Ritz Theater turned into a porno place, but back when I was a young kid, they had the movies there. Anyway, my dad took me, and I was hooked. I'm watching these guys fly through the air, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, I want to be just like that. So, of course, I went home, begged, can I take karate? No, So I'm like, okay, whatever. So then I remember driving down the street with my mom, and I seen a Kung Fu studio. It was right next to a Taekwondo studio. And I seen the Chinese dragons and stuff like that. And I was like, Mom, stop. So, of course, she did. I hopped up, kind of peeking in the window. You couldn't see too much because of what the blinds were. So I took the address and everything down, and then we called, and it was at that time it was $25 a month, and my dad said no, he's not paying $25 a month. And I can thank my granny because my granny was sitting at the kitchen table and she said, "Son, you want to take karate?" And I went, "Yes." She says, "I'll tell you what, you go, I'll pay for your lessons." And I went, "Really?" And so she did. She paid for my lessons, and that's what got me into my first Gun Fu studio. And that was that Luke's Haku Gun Fu in San Leandro. And she always gave me a bad time after because it wasn't for her that she wouldn't have got me into the martial arts, and I wouldn't be who I am today because of her. In a way, it's kind of true because if she would have said no, then I don't know what I would have done. But anyway, I was a small boy. I went there. They gave me the Kung Fu studio, the uniform, the sash, and everything. And, I trained there for over a year or so. And I wound up being like one of the youngest kids there. Not a lot of sparring, a lot of forms, a lot of hand techniques and stuff like that. But it was the Gun Fu. We had the Gun Fu shoes, the black satin uniform with the frogs down the thing. We had the red sash, and it was just like out of the movies. It was like a dream come true, And so I trained there, and it was fun. I got pretty good, learned a lot of forms and stuff. Not really sparring, but one day I came in, and the instructor was crying, and he was like 20 years old. From Hawaii, and I was like, "What's wrong?" And he said, "Oh, we're gonna have to close the studio down. Herbert Luke wants to close it down." And I was like, "You're kidding?" And he's all, "No." And it was very upsetting because you spend there a couple years there, and you get attached, and it's just like going to school every day, and it really hurt me because I really loved up that studio, and he closed. So then I kind of took a little break, but again, my heart was in the martial arts. So I decided to go down and check out Brendan Lai at San Francisco, and he had a studio in Hayward. It was upstairs. Well, he's a funny little guy. He kind of looked like a beetle in a way. He always had his hair done and everything. And he came in, and he'd bring his martial arts supplies, and he had a pretty good class. There probably about, 30 kids in the class and adults too. And I trained there for a few months and about a year or so. And it just wasn't for me. It just, the way the techniques were, I'm not saying anything bad, but it just wasn't for me. The praying mantis style just wasn't there. And then, to the bad part of it, I remember I'm a young kid and I go into the locker room to change my clothes. And Brendan Lai's top instructor, his name was Rodney, bald-headed guy, he was in the dressing room cleaning out all the people's wallets of their money. And I just was like, "What are you doing?" And he told me to get out of the dressing room because remember I was only a little kid and he was an adult. So I got out of there, and that was it. I didn't want to go back anymore. And just like I said, this wasn't for me. The techniques were, they were cool looking, but they realistically wouldn't work. But my heart was taking karate from Grandmaster Vargas. And actually Senior Grandmaster Vargas. By the time they called him Sifu, and I still call him Sifu. But again, he was $35 a month, and he was right up the street from where we lived in San Leandro on MacArthur Boulevard. So, I tell my mom and dad, "I want to take me." "Oh, no, you're not going to go over there because he's $35. You're crazy, and, we're not going to pay that." And I'm like, "Come on," I'm begging, crying, like a little baby because I wanted to do it. And eventually, my mom got me signed up over there behind my dad's back, like most moms do. And like I said, every day I went up to a studio, and he had the open sign on, and that was his little ploy for people coming to the door. He was never there during the day. So I'd wiggle the door. I go, "Oh, he's open." I go over there. No, he's closed, because I had my bike up there or whatever. So this went on for like about a month until my mom signed me up. And I remember the first day I came in to ask about lessons. I was kind of shy. And he was sitting there with three of the students that wound up being my class peers. Jeff Orso, which wound up moving on to be a good black belt. Wayne Sowers, he was kind of like not all there. He's hit about the green belt, and he was gone. And I'll get to that story later about him. And I forgot the other guy's name. It's on the tip of my tongue. But I remember him asking me, "What can I help you?" And I was like, "Oh, I want to, know about lessons." I go, "But I'll talk to you after class." "No, you'll talk to me now." Right off the bat. And I was like, "Whoa." And he embarrassed me. So, they're all just staring at me, right? "Well, you did karate before?" "Well, yes." "Where at?" So I told him, it was okay. So eventually he got me, signed up and stuff. My mom's got me signed up and stuff. And I went there, and like I said, the first night I wore my Kung Fu uniform. I told the story before. It was like the lion, I'm walking in the lion's den, me being the lamb wearing this Kung Fu uniform, and pretty much got the hell beat out of me. I got my lip cracked, my big scar, scratch across my chest, fat lip, bruised ribs. And I came home and my dad thought I got in a fight and got beat up. And I said, "No, Mom signed me up for karate." And he got mad, but then he kind of dealt with it. Anyway, and so, I trained there in the beginning, I was only a white belt, but I was so into it. I'd come in there like early in the afternoon around 4 o'clock, because he usually got there around 4 o'clock. Nobody else, class didn't start till like 6. But I get there at 4, and I'd usually vacuum the mat. Not being a kiss ass because, I just wanted to be a kiss ass. It's because I wanted a clean mat because I didn't want it all over my uniform and stuff. And I'd work on the bag, and I'd work on the bag, and I'd work on the bag. And then and then I would do the junior class and stuff. And Tammy Croissant, she's the one that taught the junior class. He didn't teach not too much. He came out in the older kids, the adult class. And then later on, he's like, "Well, I want you to come to the other class too." So I did the junior class, and then I did the adult class. And then pretty soon it was like, "Oh, I want you to go in the advanced class." And I didn't really want to go in the advanced class because back then those guys are crazy. I mean, like maniac crazy. They were people getting busted up every night. Not that I was being like a big pussy or anything. It's just that, I just wasn't ready for that yet. And so I trained like for, probably for 6 months. And then he tested myself and Jeff Orzo and for our purple belts. And we got our purple belts. And I remember I was like, "Oh, cool, I got a purple belt." And so then we started, I started training extra hard, and going to all the tournaments and stuff, and started competing a lot, winning a lot. And then he didn't test me for my blue belt. He skipped me my blue belt and went to green belt. So he skipped my blue. So I went there, and eventually, like I said, I was in an advanced class. And I remember the first night in advanced class, they're all, "Oh, congratulations, you're in the advanced class." So they stuck their hand out to shake my hand. I went to shake their hand, and pow, they kicked me right in the face. Gave me a big old fat bloody lip. They're all, "Welcome to advanced class." And that's how it was back then. And he taught the classes and stuff, the adult classes. But Tammy Croissant was the main one that taught me. He taught the advanced classes, and then he would come do his thing. But he was a hard teacher, very mean. He didn't play around. There was no joking around, and he put out some top black belts. He put out the Palins, Max Palin and Belicio and all those. He put out Jim Morez. He put a lot of them out. That's under him, and he promoted all of them to black belt, and myself, of course, and stuff. But it was very, I would say, an interesting time. It was a very hard time, just not physical wise. It was a lot of browbeating. In other words, it just wasn't kicking and punching. He did a lot of browbeating. That was kind of like a lot of times unnecessary. And that's the part that was kind of like a not the best part of being there, but because of that. So I just kind of like, but I kept going because I liked it, and that was my studio, and he was my teacher. Tammy Kassan wound up leaving, and then I wound up getting my student black belt from him. And how we did that, I give you the story on that. When he gave me my brown belt, he had the whole class there, and he had his pets like John Barron. We called him the bitch of the class because he's a big guy, muscle guy, and he's like a little tattletitties. He would tattle on all of us if we did something wrong or we said something wrong, and he would come, Sifu, they did this, they did that. So nobody really liked him because he was just that way. Big old giant guy, buff guy, probably about 23. Anyway, so he has the whole class up, the advanced class come up and go through all the forms and everything. And the last one standing that knows them all, he wanted to see. So of course I was only a green belt, but I trained so hard that I also wanted to be the last one standing there. Most of his black belts were all sitting down, after like Pinyon 9, and he wasn't too happy. He was very upset, and he said, okay. So he comes out and he's with the brown belt. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm getting my brown belt. I was so excited. So he made my excitement turn into sorrow that night, because he sat down, I kneeled down in front of him like we did get promoted, and he went to promote me, and his exact words to me was, "This is the last belt you will ever get from me. You will never get a black belt from me. You're too self-centered. All you care about is yourself, and you will never get a black belt from me." So he gives me my brown belt. I put it on my waist. I can do the whole ceremony thing, shake his hand. After class, the students were like, "Whoa, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. We're so sorry." So then I came home and I was like so mad. I was just like, how can he do that to me after when it was his top guys, in the tournaments and, the studio, and more or less belittle me like that. So the first time my mind was, I'll just go someplace else. Maybe I'll go down to Jim Morez's studio, because he had a studio, I think, Castro Valley at the time, or a small studio in Hayward. Not Hayward, but Port of San Leandro. Anyway, I thought about it and I went, no, I'm not going to give him his way. So Monday I was bright and early, like I always had, right in there. And then probably about 6 months later, he had lost his studio, and he had the studio at one of the other students' homes, and he built a patio into the studio, which was nice. It's kind of small, but it was nice. In the garage, he had the Universal Gym in there, and I remember working out at the Universal Gym because it wasn't my class. And I went to the class, and the closed class and lined up like we always do. And I noticed he had 2 black belts up there. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I wonder who's getting their black belt. So then he went on and on and on and started talking this, talking that. Then I realized he's talking about me. Of course, my hands get all sweaty and everything. I'm thinking, oh my God, he's going to give me my black belt. So he did. He brought me up. Then we kneeled down. And what he said to me was, in the class, he said, the day I gave you your brown belt was the day I tested you for your black belt. Because for what I said to you about never giving you a black belt, never, you're self-centered, and all I said about you, the average person would have quit and went someplace else. And he goes, Monday morning you were there bright and early. That was your black belt test. So that's the kind of stuff that he would do. So it just wasn't a kicking and punching thing, because that part, I had that down so good. It was a waste of even a test for that, because I was beating black belts as a green belt. I'm just smoking them, But that's the way he did it. He was very we call it, browbeating type thing, and most people didn't understand that, and they would leave. Or they would walk out of there going, what an asshole this guy is, And he was an asshole. I'm not going to say he wasn't. I'm not being disrespectful, but he was. He was a real asshole. But he put out top people. And nobody in the martial arts can take that away from him, the people that he put out. Now, some of the people that they put out, like Jim Moraes and some of them, I was put strictly under Gaylord, nobody else. That's an outright lie, because they didn't want to be part of him because of the allegations that occurred to him years later. But I never did that, because who I trained with and who I got my black belt from, that's who. No matter what, we leave in bad terms or we leave in good terms, I always stayed loyal to that. I left and I went under Grandmaster Gaylord, for 50 years. But when people ask me, "Where'd you get your black belt?" I tell them the truth. Senior Grandmaster Vargas gave it to me. I will not sit here and lie and go, "Oh, Gaylord gave it to me," or "so-and-so gave it to me," because that's not true. And I don't feel the need to have to lie to that. When you do that, you just cheapen yourself. Now, to get into the some of the stuff that he did, for me to leave, it wasn't very cool. But like I said, he was a good teacher, and his downfall was snow skiing. He was always at class, packed. They always had full classes, 3 of them a night, packed. He was the best student, one of the best studios in the Bay Area. But his downfall is he got into snow skiing. And then what happened was he'd go snow skiing, he'd leave Thursday night, and he'd come back late Monday afternoon. And he was too tired to teach class. So at that time, I'm the one who taught class. And John Barron taught the advanced class, until he left. And so he would not teach class Monday. Tuesday he would come out. Wednesday he was in the office getting ready to go for his trip go snow skiing, and he'd have Thursday night. And that's that. And then the studio went from there, from having tons and tons of students, and all the way down to nothing. He wound up losing the building and stuff because he was making more money renting the condos out and charging all of us $50 for the weekend, but he put like 25 of us in one room. I'm talking about the front room, and people sleeping in the kitchen and the floor and stuff. But so he was making a fortune on these 3 condos, and so that's his mind was on that instead of teaching class. And I tried keeping it going for him for many years, and then we had our downfall, and I'll get into that probably in chapter 2. But again, like I said, that's what started my Kajukenbo career, was through Senior Grandmaster Vargas. And of course, my shout out to Tammy Kersan, because she's the one that taught me all my forms and mostly everything. And she was one of the top women fighters in the 70s and stuff like that. So like I said, in my next chapter will be chapter 2. We're going to talk about some of the uglier things and get them out of the way about the martial arts with Senior Grandmaster Vargas, and then my story about hooking up with Great Grandmaster Gaylord and stuff like that. And each week I'll try to put out one chapter so you guys will be able to kind of follow it along and get the drift of what's being said. Like I said, it's going to get pretty deep, and it's going to get fun. It's going to have fun stuff, but it's going to get ugly too. And it's going to piss a lot of people off, but my name of the book, it's my story, you like it or not. You don't have to like it, but it's the truth, and I'm not going to pull no punches. So, until next time, I'm Senior Grandmaster Hemenes from Kajukenbo Live, coming from South Lake Tahoe. My next chapter will be chapter 2. It will probably be out the following week. Thank you.